How can I continue simplifying my life, decluttering my life after I've finished the physical clutter? Let's talk about 8 ways to continue decluttering your life without the actual things. Hi everyone, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm Dr. Jessica Louie, and I love helping burned out women and healthcare professionals simplify their lives, clear the clutter, and reset burnout, because we can all thrive in life and own our time. Now, many of you know that I am a master level certified KonMari consultant. I went through my own simplifying and decluttering journey over 6 years ago. And if you want to know more about that journey, my burnout story, how the KonMari method has lasted over the 6+ years, you can watch those videos as well. But today we're talking about what are we going to do afterwards? How are we going to continue applying this concept to other aspects of our life? So we're going to talk about 8 different ways we can declutter things that aren't actual physical items in our life. And this is honestly part of my Burnout Doctor method, where we go over the clarify step, the simplify step, and then the alignment step. And I think that simplifying, yes, starts with a lot of physical clutter in our life, but we also have different other clutter in our life, the 4 types of clutter that are affecting our joy every single day. So let's get started with these 8 different ways to declutter. The first thing to declutter that's not an actual thing is really to declutter our mental load, our mental clutter. And you might be confused about this to start with. I know that I was kind of confused that there was actually other things that were considered clutter that weren't actual physical things. And that mental load, that mental clutter is really important. It usually results in that brain fog that we experience. And, if you don't know what this is, I do have another video on what is the mental load and what is mental clutter that you can watch as well. But it's really thinking about how can we let go of some of that, let go of that brain fog, let go of all the responsibility that we carry of remembering everything in our lives. And sometimes that also means that we declutter like digital clutter that's part of our mental load. Next up is relationships. Now, many of us know that the people that we surround ourselves with are really important. And there's been research studies on this about the 5 people we surround ourselves and spend the most time with. And basically, who are we taking their opinions and advice from seriously? So it's not necessarily only the 5 people you surround yourself with, especially if those are like young children and things, but it's also the 5 people that we uphold a lot of significance to their opinions and their advice. And many times, it is important in our alignment stage that we do look at our relationships and our community around us and see, are those positive people that are inspiring us, that are supporting us through our new journey? Because sometimes when we evolve as people, the people around us don't necessarily evolve and transform with us. They might be stuck, and sometimes, yes, we can help and inspire them. But if they're holding us back or being negative or feeling that they are putting us down or demeaning us, maybe it's time to move on and find another group that are people that are on our path. Sometimes that means, I went through a debt-free journey. I talk about a lot of financial well-being, and sometimes that means that we do want to be surrounded by people who are also on that financial independence journey with us, who are supporting us, who are not evaluating, where we're spending money and frivolously, unintentionally, and trying to get us to do the same thing. So it is important that we take a relationship inventory. So you can do this on a simple pen and paper, writing down people around you, who you spend time with, not only family members, friends, acquaintances, team members, and thinking about, are they positive people in your life? Are they kind of neutral people in your life? Or are they negative people in your life or toxic people in your life? And being honest with yourself to know, how are you going to spend time with these people moving forward? Next up, we're going to declutter our schedule and our calendars. Now, I've made different videos and podcast episodes about how to own our time, how to not be on 24/7 that you can watch as well. But basically, we want to be able to own our calendar, our schedule. And sometimes that means taking out a blank one and starting over and seeing where we want to spend our time. We want to spend time if we were taking care of loved ones or children or pets in our household as well. And yes, there's going to be seasons that are more full, but we can be intentional with knowing that there is a hobby or a training event during that season of our life. And other times it's time to take a step back. So I want to encourage you to pause before you say yes to putting something on your calendar or on your schedule this week. You can pause before you say yes and tell the person, hey, I'll get back to you tomorrow, or I'll get back to you later this afternoon, because a lot of times we're really unintentional with saying yes to things and putting more and more things on our calendars to the point where we were not having breaks, we're not having downtime, this white space that we really need as human beings. It's also a good time to look at your calendar and make sure that the events on your calendar are bringing you joy. They spark joy in your life. They're cultivating that joy and positivity in your life. And it's okay to say no, because we don't need to be busy just to say that we're busy. We don't need to brag about being busy. I know a lot of people, especially women, like to do this, but it's not something that we have to lead with. And I think that also acknowledging the word busy in our life and how we use that word is important when we are owning our calendars and our schedules. Next up is to declutter our goals. Yes, I said our goals. So goal setting is so important. It's somewhere where we want to know where we're going in life and have a few goals, not have this overwhelming amount of goals where we're working towards 20 different goals, feeling scattered all the time. So the first step is making sure you have goals, because maybe if you don't have any goals, it will be a time where you do set goals versus declutter your goals. But it is a time where we can simplify all the goals that we might have out there and simplify them into what are 2 to 3 goals I want to work on in the next 3 months, the next quarter of the year. And I highly encourage you to go back to our Curate Your Goals process that's in our starter kit link below and in our podcast episodes link below, so that you know how to goal set. I really encourage you to reverse engineer your goals so you know that, where do you want to be by the end of the year, and we're going to reverse engineer that into quarterly goals, monthly goals, weekly goals, and then daily goals. And then it goes back to our big 3 type of goal setting process. And you can watch that video on how to set up your week for success. Next up to declutter are your habits. So a lot of us, tend to get into routines and habits that may not be serving our lives anymore. And it's important to start to make a change around those habits. So we can declutter habits that no longer serve us. Yes, there's a lot of habits around us that are great and we want to continue, but there might be 1 or 2 habits that you'd like to see a change in. And I know that, changing those habits can be difficult. Change is uncomfortable, but taking those simple steps to get started is what's really going to help declutter that process. Maybe it's something in part of your morning routine or your evening routine that you want to change the habit on. Maybe you don't feel that you're moving your body and feeling energized for the day, so you can incorporate something new and let go of an old habit in your morning routine. Or maybe it's something related to, your sleep, and you want to get to bed earlier so that you feel more rested the next day, and that's changing part of your evening routine. Wherever that might be, it's important to recognize that we can declutter and simplify and change our habits throughout life. They're not stagnant, and different seasons of our life will have different habits. So we can declutter and simplify the ones that are going to best serve us in the next season, over the next 2 to 3 months of our life. The next item to declutter is eating and our food supply. So you might be a little surprised about this, but a lot of times, eating and food can result in a lot of anxiety for people because they have already filled up their calendars a lot and don't know how to prep meals and, prep things so that the fridge is full of things that are good for you and your family members and things that you're going to be eating and not food wasting. So it's a good time to check in and see, what foods you're typically eating and, what ones are serving you best, and decluttering, simplifying the ones that are not serving you or are resulting in takeouts or lots of fast food types of options. A lot of times this means that we want to think about how could we simplify our routine. I highly recommend going back to some of the podcast videos that are linked below, and basically thinking about how can we shop on the same days of the week, have similar meals. I do a lot of food prepping versus meal prepping because, at the end of the day, a meal involves a protein, a carbohydrate, a vegetable, and fruit types of things together. So we can food prep a lot easier than meal prep and then put those items together a little bit easier day to day. And we can also buy items and wash and rinse them off and cut them up and then put them into food prep type containers so that you can grab those celery sticks or those tomatoes or those carrots really easily. I do this a lot for my fruit because I eat the same breakfast every single morning. It's oatmeal with fresh raspberries and blueberries, and they're always ready to go in containers, so I don't have to think about it. It really simplifies my routine. And just starting with one meal a day, whether that's breakfast, lunch, or dinner, can be really helpful in simplifying your food and eating process, and also making sure we have less food waste going into our landfills. The next step to declutter is our emotions. So you've heard me talk about emotional clutter before and our ability to really express our feelings to others. And a lot of times people will tell me, well, I'm just waiting to be happy when we finally close on that house we want to buy, when we finally have that first child, when we finally graduate or get our board certification, and waiting for something in our life to have that outcome, to then have that feeling, is something that I really discourage, because at the end of the day, when we keep on running towards this finish line and not enjoying the journey, our life doesn't feel very fulfilling and meaningful. Right? So it is a good time to check in with your emotional well-being and your emotional clutter to see how you are feeling and how you are living in the present moment, not waiting for something to happen to be happy in life. I really encourage that process. Finally, we are going to declutter our finances. So this is something that I'm really passionate about talking about, financial well-being. And a lot of times when we've gone through the physical decluttering and simplifying process, we realize that we've spent so much money on items that really didn't bring us joy. And through that process, we've learned a lot. We don't need to have regrets about it. We need to let go, think about what that experience taught us and move forward. And that's why I love talking about my debt-free journey as a pharmacist and with a partner in healthcare as well, where we paid off over $300,000 worth of student loan debt in a very short amount of time. We've increased our incomes, decreased our expenses, and did so many different things through a simple process called the Kakebo method. And I highly encourage you, if you don't have a grasp on your finances, it's just taking that first step to start. That first step to look and see where you're spending your money from your credit card statements or your bank statements, or to look at, what does your paycheck say and where is that money going? Is it going into retirement? Is it going to certain taxes on your paycheck, your health insurance? And figuring out where you want to start spending that money, how you're going to pay yourself first, and then spend in the 4 categories that are the simple Kakebo method. So I highly encourage that. I'm going to link some videos on financial well-being below so that you can get started on decluttering your financial situation as well. Thank you everyone for watching this video. We talked about 8 different ways to declutter that are not things, that are not physical items in our life, to really start going beyond the KonMari method that I've talked about and going farther into the simplifying and then work-life alignment step in our Burnout Doctor method. Now, make sure you are taking action with the resources linked below, either if it's our starter kit or workshops or other videos. Make sure you're watching these on simplifying and burnout as well. Thank you for watching, my friends. Until next time, spark joy.